If you grow up around here, you learn certain rules. Don't whistle at night. Don't answer something that calls your name from the woods. And if you hear someone you love outside your window after dark, don't look. My grandmother used to say that last one like it wasn't superstition, like it was a seatbelt. You look, she'd say, and it knows you can see it. I always thought she meant coyotes or bears. I don't anymore. And it was 1:47 a.m. when I heard my mum's voice outside my bedroom window. Soft, calm. Hey baby. My stomach dropped immediately. My mum lives 40 minutes away. I checked my phone. No missed calls, no texts. Then it came again, closer to the glass this time. Opened the window, same voice, same tone, but something about it felt flattened, like someone doing an impression. I stayed still, didn't answer. That's another rule. Then it said something only she would know. A nickname she hasn't used since I was 10. Come on, just look at me. I told myself it was stress, lack of sleep, auditory hallucination, anything but what my grandmother meant. The voice shifted slightly. Why won't you look at me? Still soft, still patient. That made it worse. Then it said, you always used to look for monsters under the bed. A pause. There aren't any under there. Something scraped lightly against the siding, right beneath my window, and I broke the rule. I looked. She was standing at the edge of the yard, just past the tree line, wearing my mom's face, but wrong. Too tall. Shoulders too narrow. Arms hanging just a little too long, her head tilted slightly, like it wasn't used to sitting on that neck. The face was almost perfect. Almost. The smile stretched too far back. Her eyes weren't focused on me. They were fixed on the reflection in the glass, watching herself, adjusting. When our eyes finally met, her expression changed instantly. Not confused, not angry, delighted. Her mouth opened wider than it should have, and she started laughing, high, sharp, wrong, and said, I got you, in a shrill voice. Then she stepped backward, not turning, not blinking, just sliding into the trees, still smiling. Mon, I don't remember grabbing my phone. I just remember calling my mom. She picked up on the second ring. Hello. She sounded half asleep. Normal. Mum? My voice was shaking. I think I just had a nightmare. Silence. Not the kind where someone's thinking. The kind where someone is listening. Mum? A soft breath crackled through the speaker. Then, very quietly, I'm inside. The whisper wasn't tired. It wasn't confused. It sounded close, right next to me. And then it laughed. Not loud, not sharp. A thin, careful laugh. Like it was trying not to wake someone up. All ended. The house was completely silent. No footsteps, no doors opening, no breathing. Nothing. That's what scares me the most, because my grandmother didn't just say don't look. She said, looking is the same as opening the door, and I looked. This story may be short, or it may be drawn out. I am recounting these events as I type, as it was honestly one of the most horrifying things I have experienced, and it brings me genuine stress to think about. This happened maybe 2-3 years ago. I live in southern West Virginia and have for my entire life. The woods and mountains surround every direction you look, and nighttime is a darkness that you can never dream of unless experienced. I was with a friend, I'll call him Mark. Mark was at my house one evening, doing the usual things, watching UFC, playing Xbox, etc. It was extremely late when we finally got bored and decided to go for a walk on a nearby trail to smoke a joint. This is not a particularly long trail, but it is very dense in the woods that surround it, and it is easy to get freaked out when thinking of your surroundings. We finally get to about halfway into the trail, about 30 minutes in, where we stop, pack our joint, and stand on the trail to chill and talk. The forest is very alive tonight. There are always noises in the woods, but the amount of animal activity for the time, at this point it was probably past 1 a.m. This was strange and kind of eerie but not alerting, as any sort of predatory animal in the area may cause a disturbance. We finish smoking and continue our walk when almost immediately the forest falls dead quiet. And as soon as the forest goes quiet, there is a voice. It almost sounds like a mocking, humanoid voice, shaky and uncertain, almost like an old children's toy, like the ones with the crackly speakers and robotic voice, if you know what I mean. This immediately sets us off. We bolt directly down the opposite length of the trail, but the sound does not gain distance. It doesn't get closer, per se, but no matter how far we ran down the trail, this eerie voice remains the same volume, going over and over with no quieting or stopping. At this point, I am convinced that we are in genuine danger, something I have felt very few times. Finally, after sprinting for who knows how long, we exit the trail, gasping for breath and almost at the verge of tears from how frightening this was. We begin to exit the trail, and about 5 minutes from the exit, there is a bone-shaking, heart-stopping, murderous scream from directly behind us. I know what a mountain lion sounds like. This was not an animal. This was not someone playing or watching a movie. This scream sent birds flying from nests and made my heart drop into my stomach. It was the most genuinely depraved and violent scream that I have ever heard. This is a true story that I have only told to maybe 3 people, all of whom seem to brush it off as false. I've never been a person to push for the existence of the paranormal or spiritual, but I genuinely believe I encountered something inhuman in those woods. Edit. I know I will receive questions such as, what was the voice possibly saying, or explain the area and what happened after. I genuinely cannot remember what the voice was saying, if anything intelligible. I don't know if I could understand it then, and I certainly can't recall understanding it after several years of blocking it out of my memory. All that I recall is that it was a fluctuating voice in pitch, shaking, almost just joining sounds together. After running from the scream at the end of the trail, we ran to the car, which was only about 5 more minutes from the trail, so we got there relatively fast from sprinting. I need to write this down because I feel like I'm losing my mind, and putting it somewhere outside of my head might help. Dane and I have been together for 4 years. We're the kind of couple that finishes each other's sentences, that has a whole private language of inside jokes and shorthand. I know him better than I know anyone. I say that because I need you to understand that when I tell you something is wrong with him, I'm not being paranoid. I know this man. We got back from a section hike on the Appalachian Trail 11 days ago. We did about 200 miles over 3 weeks, starting in Virginia. It was Dane's idea. He'd always wanted to do a long stretch, and I had never done anything longer than a weekend trip. I was nervous. He was so excited he could barely sleep the week before we left. The first 2 weeks were incredible. Hard, but incredible. We fell into a rhythm. We'd hike until late afternoon, set up camp, cook whatever dehydrated thing we'd packed, and lie on top of our sleeping bags talking until one of us fell asleep mid-sentence. I felt closer to him out there than I ever had. No phones, no obligations, just the 2 of us and the mountain. It was the 3rd week when things started to feel off. I don't know how to explain it except to say that the woods changed, not visibly. Everything looked the same trail, the same trees, but the quality of the air felt different, thicker somehow, like the atmosphere had shifted by a degree you couldn't measure but could feel in your chest. Dane felt it too. He got quieter. He'd always been the one pointing things out. Look at that ridge, look at that bird. But he stopped. He just hiked, eyes forward, jaw set. On the 4th night of that week, I woke up in the middle of the night and he wasn't in the tent. I found him standing about 20 feet away at the tree line, just standing there looking into the dark. I called his name, and he turned around so fast it startled me. He looked, I don't know, not scared exactly, more like he'd been caught doing something. He said he'd needed to use the bathroom. We went back to the tent. He didn't sleep after that. I could feel him lying awake next to me all night. We finished the hike 2 days later and drove home. I thought once we were back in our apartment with our things and our routines, he'd return to himself. He hasn't. He flinches when I touch him, not every time, but enough that I've started hesitating before I reach for him. Last week I came up behind him while he was doing dishes and put my hand on his shoulder, and he made a sound, not a word, just a sound, and stepped away from me. He apologized immediately. He said he was jumpy lately and blamed it on bad sleep. He's not sleeping. I hear him up at all hours. But when I get up to check on him, he always comes back to bed right away, says he's fine, and lies there stiff as a board until I fall asleep. He started locking the bedroom door at night. We share a bedroom, we share a bed. For the past 6 days I've been waking up on the couch with no memory of getting there and the bedroom door locked from the inside and Dane on the other side of it, claiming he has no idea how I ended up in the living room. He says I must be sleepwalking. He says it gently, the way you say things to someone you're frightened of. I asked him last night to please just tell me what was wrong. I sat across from him at the kitchen table, and I asked him to look me in the eye and tell me what I had done. He looked at me for a long time, his jaw worked. I watched him decide something. He said, "You haven't done anything. I've just been in my head since the trail. I'm sorry." He reached across the table and squeezed my hand. He let go after less than a second. I went to the bathroom after dinner and stood at the sink for a long time. I looked at myself in the mirror. Normal, tired and a little thinner than before the hike, but normal. I turned the faucet on and splashed water on my face. When I looked up, I was smiling. I hadn't smiled, I wasn't smiling. But my reflection was just for a second, just long enough for me to see it wearing an expression I hadn't put there, wide and still and patient. Then it was just my face again. I told myself it was the lighting, the water in my eyes, but I've been thinking about the third week on the trail, how the air changed. How I have almost no clear memories from those last 2 days of hiking, just flashes, a strange taste in my mouth, a sound like something large moving parallel to the trail just past where the trees got thick, and waking up outside the tent once with dirt under my fingernails and no explanation. I've been thinking about how Dane stood at the tree line that night, how he looked when he turned around, the sound he made when I touched his shoulder. I've been thinking about the mirror. I've been telling myself I need to ask him what he saw on that trail, what he's been seeing since we got back. But there's another part of me, quiet and patient, underneath that doesn't want him to answer. That part doesn't want him to say it out loud. I don't know what that means. I don't know if I should be scared of what's happening to Dane or scared of something else entirely. I just know that last night I dreamed about the woods, the smell of them, the dark, and when I woke up, I was hungry in a way I've never been before, a way I don't have words for. I don't know how to end this post because I don't know what I'm even asking. I guess I just needed someone else to know. Let me start by saying I have lived in the Appalachian Mountains all my life and have experienced a lot of strange things. My family was Irish and settled in WV, but I currently live in the NC portion of these wonderful mountains. That being said, I have learned a lot about what really lurks in these dark woods, but this was like nothing I had ever experienced before. It all began with my golden retriever Ozzy growling like I had never heard before. He literally never growls, so that had me already uncomfortable, but this growl was bone-chilling. It was like he was getting ready to have to fight for his life or something. I took both him and my other dog out at around 11 p.m. and he would not leave my side. I noticed that my workshop door was open, so I walked down to close and lock it up. The entire time he was glued to my side. Ozzy also kept trying to get in between my legs, still growling, with all of his hair sticking straight up like a feral animal. The second I closed the door, all hell breaks loose in the woods. It sounded like 50 full-grown men had broken out into a full sprint, tearing through the woods. Trees were shaking and branches falling. In my life, I have never been that scared. We got back in the house before I shit my pants, and I got my pistol/mag light to figure out what the hell was out there. When the dog and I got back outside, we were surrounded by what sounded like people mumbling. It was everywhere. I shone the light all over the woods and couldn't see anything, but the sound was coming from all around. It sounded as if you got a full gym of people to baby mumble. You could almost make out words. That's why I don't think it was an animal. I almost immediately felt sick, like I was having a mix between a panic attack and the full swing of the flu. Back inside the house, it sounded like people were walking around all night. The windows were creaking, and you could clearly hear the sound of shoes on gravel. The mumbling never stopped. Every time I got up to check the house, my feet would touch the floor, and it would get dead silent. You couldn't hear birds, crickets, frogs, or anything. I was terrified and didn't sleep a wink. The air felt thick and evil all night. That's the only way I could explain the feeling. Imagine a soaking wet quilt being tossed over you. That's how I felt.